This is a tough one.
Don't fool around.
Yes.
Now we're going to break for the swearing in and the administration of oath of office by Commissioner Dave Thompson. You got it.
Yeah, we got everybody moving.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
perform all the duties of the office of Provisional Chief
perform all of the duties of the office of Provisional Chief
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
and I do solemnly swear
And I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Well deserved. Yeah, you want to let her pin it. You want to do that.
I want to start off by thanking everybody for coming out, those that came to see this ceremony. First, I want to thank the mayor, Mayor Cabrera, Commissioner Gould, and Commissioner Thompson for their support and for having faith in me and for promoting me to chief. I also want to thank the Chiefs of Police, County Chiefs of Police Association for all of their support in the last year and even before that. They've been a wealth of knowledge. Every time I needed something or had questions, I knew I had very knowledgeable professionals that I could go to for guidance, and I appreciate that. So thank you. I want to thank Chief DePaul, who is here. He gave me an opportunity back in 2003, and here I am today. He's been so supportive of me through my whole career, and I thank you, sir. Chief McGrath, you gave me the opportunity as a lieutenant back in 2015. We worked so well together. Many times I found myself in your office all fired up about something, and you realized I needed to take a. I really learned a lot from you, and thank you, sir. I want to thank my parents, who for my entire life have been nothing but supportive of me, even when I know it was difficult. My mother, you're a saint for having to put up with me, and I thank you so much for that. My father, who, he set me on this path. I followed in his footsteps, and I'm so happy I did. I'm so proud. He's probably the hardest working man I've ever met in my life, and I do my best to do what I can to be like him. So, Mom, Dad, thank you. Thank you so much. To my wife, who is absolutely 100% my better half. There is no doubt about it. She will agree. No matter what, she always points me in the right direction. She tells me how things are, and she tells me like it is, and sometimes it's hard for me to take that, but she is 100% supportive of me all the time, and I know I put you through it, and I thank you for everything. So, and I love you. To my daughters, I knew this was going to choke me up. You two are the lights of my life. I love you so much, and I thank you no matter what I go through during the day. When I come home, seeing your little smiles, it just melts all that away. So I love you, kids. To WCPD, when I took over as OIC in the beginning of the year, January 1st, it was almost immediately things went sideways, and 2020 has been interesting, let's just say that. Started off with helping the city of Wildwood with the presidential visit, then came along COVID, which we're still dealing with, and then which was perhaps the busiest summer I think this police department has ever seen. You guys stepped up. Even through the dark storm cloud that is 2020, you shined through, and you continue to do the same today. And I thank you for everything you have done. And I thank you for your support. I am here because of you, and I want you to know I am here for you. I work for you. Not too long ago, one of my younger officers, I won't name his name, but he knows who he is, he said to me, when I asked him about what he thought of the police department, and kept secret. You know, I about it for a little bit, and at first I was like, I guess we are the best kept secret. And then I thought about it and I said, well, why are we a secret? Not anymore. We're not going to be a secret anymore. Everybody's going to know who we are. Everybody's going to know what we're capable of. Today is a big step, but we've got a lot of work to do, WCPD. So let's get to it. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the law enforcement that also came out in support. I'm truly humbled, and I'm honored to be. So, thank you. I apologize. I also want to thank the business administrator, Connie Mann. Thank you so much. I knew I was going to forget somebody. I apologize. And the department heads for the borough. Easy to work with. And I look forward to continue working with all of you. So thank you.
Okay, the time is, well, for you to look at that clock there, which I don't think that's right.
5:50.
It's 5:50, but that one says 5:55. But on that clock, let's take a 5-minute recess. We're going to hold off and we get back to the regular business of the meeting. Give everybody a chance to say hello, goodbye, and anybody that wants to leave the meeting, you're more than welcome to do so before we start back. Congratulations, Chief Lloyd. Good job. All right, we'll see you all back here in about 5 minutes. Yep. I believe we're picking up on the resolutions, number 2, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. The next resolution is awarding the beach concession for sale of ice cream and ice cream products to WC Ice Cream LLC for the total 2020. It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll. Mr. Thompson? Yes. Mr. Cabrera?
Yes.
Next is awarding the beach concession known as beach umbrellas, beach chairs, approved flotation devices, and the sale of bottled water only to Sunbrellas, Inc., trading as Billy's Beach Service, LLC, for the total bid amount of $125,400 for seasons 2021, 2022, and 2023.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mrs. Gould?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson? Mr. Cabrera?
Yes.
Next is awarding the beach concession water safety instruction to O2 Inc., trading as Ocean Outfitters, for the total bid amount of $18,500, commencing January 1, 2021 through December 31st, 2023.
So moved.
Mrs. Gould?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson? Mr. Cabrera?
Yes.
Lastly is approving a settlement of a tax appeal litigation known as Shalimar Resort LLC v. Borough of Wildwood Crest.
So moved.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mrs. Gould?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson? Mr. Cabrera?
Yes.
I move that all bills properly authorized be paid.
It has been moved and seconded that all bills properly authorized be paid. Roll call. Mrs. Gould?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson? Mr. Cabrera?
Yes.
I move that all reports received from the court administrator, the chief financial Recreation Department, emergency services coordinator for the as presented.
It has been moved and seconded that all reports received from the court administrator, chief financial officer, tax collector, now chief of police, supervisor, emergency services coordinator for the EMS, and the Wildwood Crest Volunteer Fire Company chief for the month ending October 31st, 2020, be accepted as presented. Roll call. Mrs. Gould?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson? Mr. Cabrera?
Yes.
I move that all minutes from the regularly scheduled commission meetings dated October 21, 2020, and November 5, 2020, be approved as presented.
It has been moved and seconded that all minutes from the regularly scheduled commission meetings dated October 21st, 2020, and November 5th, 2020, be approved as presented. Roll call. Mrs. Gould?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson? Mr. Cabrera?
Yes. Okay. That brings us to our administrator's report. Constance?
Good evening. The COA closings and cancellations. The Cape May County Health Department continues the number of COVID-19 cases during normal business hours with restrictions on the number of cases at one time. And CDC guidelines are being followed. Crest Pier is now open to the public, as is the pool, and the county has reactivated their COVID-19 task force. I will be attending their virtual meeting next week. 2021 DCA Small Cities Grant Application. Our DCA Small Cities Grant Application for up to $400,000 for the 2021 fiscal year was submitted. We applied to DCA to provide funding for ADA. We also representatives These bump outs will be modeled shower racks. We could begin construction next fall. Disaster recovery. Francine Springer, the CFO, on upgrades to our software systems. Possible service during system that can be accessed from just about anywhere in a secure way that will enable us to provide cost savings service business. We just completed our application to the MEL, which is our umbrella policy for the JIF, and continue our Tier 2 compliance status in IT, ensuring our taxpayers and employees that we are doing everything in our power to protect their personal information. Beach boxes. I am very happy to report that we will have additional beach boxes for rent this summer of 2021. Manufactured by the Department of Department in early January. All registrations will be done. Rentals are tentatively set to go on sale in early February, with being given about a 2-week window to register exclusively ahead of open registration for the next season. We're expecting an additional 46 boxes, which is actually 9 suite of boxes. Also, in the or 5230 ongoing and upcoming projects. Pacific begin construction of project will be mostly funded by surfaces, hardscaping, and landscaping. On the Hereford in project and comments on the necessary document will be available on our website. Cape May County and project, which is upcoming next year.
Thank you. Governing body, any questions for our administrator?
No.
Public, any questions for our administrator? I can answer that.
Hello? Next year, that's something that's under the scope of the county, which is a separate contract, not the borough's contract. Will be over. The paving, the curb, and the gutter. I can't speak for the county, but I know our contractor is supposed to be completed in the spring of next year. Correct, yeah, because we had to get all the pipe work completed, let it settle out, and then they would come in to do all the surface work.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. While you have the microphone there, Mr. de Blasio, go
and that is the borough will be resubmitting a revised FEMA grant application to address flood mitigation improvements in the Bayside Triangle area. Just to reacclimate everybody with that terminology, that is the area bounded by Cressy Avenue, Rambler Road, and Park Boulevard. Our office is currently working with Triad Associates, who is the borough's grant coordinator, to submit the application, which is due November 30th, and we will meet that deadline. In regards to capital projects, here are the updates. The Sunrise Park Playground and Splash Park installations are substantially completed. The Splash Park colored coating will be applied within the next 2 weeks. That'll be the icing on the cake on that Splash Park, which is the colorful borough logo. Next item, the contractor for Pacific Avenue and the Barry Street Improvement Project has completed the following work since they have remobilized this fall. All utility work on Hollywood Avenue from Pacific Avenue to Farragut Road is completed. The concrete work for that roadway is scheduled actually to start tomorrow. That would only leave one more side street to be worked on, which is Washington Avenue from Pacific to New Jersey. Additionally, the contractor has completed sanitary sewer replacement on Pacific Avenue from Denver Avenue to Farragut Road. Interestingly enough and ironically today, I did call the contractor to give him a little kick in the butt to get back on site to keep it moving. Lastly, the following projects are still in the design phase in our office. They are the New Jersey Avenue sanitary sewer replacement, and the next two are reconstruction of beach and
Mark? Now is it?
On Pacific and Hollywood. No. On we're going to have
some the crew assigned to
But I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that what our current net debt is. So the municipalities are allowed to go up to 3.5% of the ratables, which really is $78 million. That's how much you're allowed to legally go up to borrow. So at this time, the borough only has $29 million outstanding, which is 1.326 of that 3.5%. So we still actually have about almost $49 million available to spend if we were to do that. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that we're well under the average debt service. So what that means to your budget is every year, we basically have to pay that down in the budget. And in our budget currently for 2020, it was $3.7 million of our budget was for debt service. In the next 2 years, that debt service is going to pretty much remain the same. It's a very slight decrease. We're talking about maybe about $10,000 decrease. So we are paying down the debt service, about $3.2 million of principal, and then the remainder is for our interest payments. Our last two issues, our interest rates were extremely low when I did our refunding, which saved the borough about, I think I gave a presentation last year, it was about $750,000 worth of interest, which was nice to really, it's kind of like going out and refinancing your mortgage and saving money. So that's what we did last year, which was a great benefit to the borough. So the projects that we outlined, in the next slide, I'll outline them. I know that the engineer and the administrator kind of did at the last presentation, but basically those, the following slides that I'm going to show you, it will not increase the tax rate due to the borough's debt service dropping off in the next years, which are 2023, 24, and 25. So in 2023, we will see a decrease in our debt service. One of our issues for the refunding will fall off, saving the borough about $500,000. In the next year, the same thing. So over the next 3 years, $2 million per, like most of the debt service will be falling off. So we will have the ability to borrow money, stay at the same debt service rate, and also get more projects done. So I just wanted to make sure that, that was understood. I know that there's a lot of projects out there. Just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that there is a method to keep the tax rate stable, debt service stable, and still get some projects done, and move forward with infrastructure, which is extremely important to update the infrastructure for the borough so that the taxpayers don't have, their sewer systems and their road systems are actually, at the best that they can be. All right, next up is the next slide is our kind of like a 3-year capital program. I have like 5 years of a capital program out, but I was just really focusing on 3 years of all the data that I was talking about today. So I know we've looked at, I kind of broke it down into 4 categories that I thought were summarized at the best. So road improvements and drainage, which is your street and your sewers, as well as beach and bay improvements, buildings and our properties, and then recreation and parks. So as you can see in 2021, the totals for that would be $6.9 million with the projects that we have, but there's other grant and funding sources that the borough has gone out to secure to bring those costs down. So if you're looking at $6.9 million, we're down to 4.2 after we apply all the grants, open space grants. We also have a small cities grant and some bond funds that were borrowed for in previous years that now are no longer, those projects are complete, so we basically can roll that money in and repurpose it. So that's basically what we can do with to reduce the cost of the projects. So in these projects, I can basically go over, so in the road improvements, included in there are going to be the New Jersey Avenue, Beach and Stanton Avenue, which our engineer just spoke about, and the Triangle flood mitigation, which would be in the road improvements and drainage in 2023. So that's where that $9 million figure comes from in there. And then, of course, the grant funding for that is possibly a FEMA grant of $4 million, which will to the burden of the debt service for that. So we're also going to be, I think the beach, we're looking at open space for those, and we're also looking at a small cities ADA grant for those as well. So those will be offset. So there's a lot of grant funding out there for the for each one of the projects. Recreation and Parks in 2021 is really the baseball field, which some of that will be from insurance. There was insurance damage, so we will be getting some money from them to redo those baseball field dugouts. And also included in there is the Scoop Taylor Park, which is fully funded by the that one's ADA. Yeah, sorry. There's so many projects, and which I'll get into the next slide. We'll go over all the grants that are available that we've actually obtained in the last 3 years. So do you have any questions about that, Mayor, that you wanted me to speak about any further?
No.
So the next slide is really the grant funding. The borough and the commissioners, and as well as the administrator and the engineer, have worked really hard to obtain grants for the borough. They've been really, they've done an excellent job. Obviously, in 2018, 19, and 20, you can see the various grants, mostly open space. We got our Sunset Lake award for 302, which I'm just putting in for reimbursement for the kayak launch, and the gazebo, which was funded through open space. So then we were able to get the Rambler Road improvements and some beach chairs through the Small Cities Block Grant, which was another great grant that was that the grant administrator and our administrator were able to obtain. So then we've been able to offset all of the projects, the Newark Avenue project by $185,000, also our Trenton Avenue project by $160,000, and then we just went out in 2020 for the Beach Avenue through the municipal aid, and we are also outstanding as the 2021 grant for Beach Avenue. So when we put those together, they'll offset that project. Also, just now in 2020, we were just able to obtain upgrades for the EMS radios. We obtained a $26,000 grant to get them radios so that they could be on board with our county dispatch, and now all the radios will be upgraded, and they will all be on the same level of frequency, I guess. I'm not quite sure how that all works. So that's basically all the grants that we've obtained through the last 3 years. We are working on a bunch of grants, which I believe that Connie spoke about through FEMA. So we have 2 applications out there now, and I'm working with our grant administrators to try to get them forward. And the last slide is just our net valuation taxable. So in the last 3 years, you can see that the property values have gone up with new buildings, and and so we've gone up almost like $30 million in the last 3 years as far as our ratables. This year, we are not going to see as large of an impact as we had between 19 and 20. This year, I think the increase right now is about $7 million to the rateable base. So the building has slowed down a little bit for this year, but probably due to COVID and projects just not getting fully completed. So that's all I have for right now. I mean, I'm working on 2020, closing it out. The revenues, the borough was able to make all of its revenues, to offset taxation, so we received enough money to cover all of the different areas. There were a couple of shortfalls, one being the pool a little bit, because it was closed for a time, and of course, interest on investments. I had been very fortunate to be able to get some good interest rates in 2019, but unfortunately in 2020, they all went down to about 10 basis points, so we're not really getting that much money on interest, so I'll see a little shortfall in that, but hopefully in the next couple of years, that'll be on the rise. But that's it for now.
Okay. Governing body, any questions for our CFO? Public? Thank you, Francine.
Okay, you're
Public.
welcome. Yeah, yes, sir.
Large jump between 2022 and 2023 on your 3-year capital program.
Hold on one second. That's just really the nature of the... Yes, because the Triangle Flood Mitigation Project for that project, that's slated for 2023. Which we just spoke.
New Jersey. Can you help me out? The second slide you went through. Don't use your...
Yeah, it is.
Dad told me expenses always rise to meet income.
Is basically the It's your fund balance. That's in, maybe that have grown. Balance and used for any sort of emergency or like with COVID. So now this year now that we have an ample amount of surplus, by using that surplus, we have that availability. Like 25 million.
Anybody else? Questions for our CFO? Okay. To contact Francine directly via email. Okay, that brings us to first round of public comments. Let me check to see if anybody's on this conference line. Just a ukulele player, I think. Okay, that means nobody's on the call. Anyone here, public comments?
Dave McWilliams, 8107. On the resolutions 2, 3, and 4, these were the awards to the various, is it typical 3 years? Is that what we typically do, award the ice cream and the the beach umbrellas? Is 3 years typical?
Yes.
And are all of these successful vendors the same or different?
So the ocean, the water safety, the surf camp is different than number 2 and number 3. They are the same.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Joe Viscomi from Washington Avenue. It sounds like a simple question, but why would taxes go up if our budget keeps on increasing? Or if our surplus keeps on increasing? I kind of understand that, so I go back to it, then if there's a surplus, then next year should be no tax raises. I mean, we're at a $10 million surplus, and last year we had an $8 million surplus. So to me, it sounds like there should be no tax increase if we always have a giant surplus.
Anybody else? Okay, brings us to new business, old street signs. So I think primarily along Ocean Avenue, Public Safety has started putting up the new street signs on the north and south and the east and west in the blue signs with the white lettering, replacing the yellow and the green ones that have been here for quite some time. So we've gotten a lot of requests from the public to ask if the old signs are available for purchase from the borough once the new signs are installed throughout the community. So we're looking at the options, the legal options. And I believe, as it stands right now, it appears as though we would need to be setting up some sort of an auction, whether online or in person and what have you. It's not going to happen this year because the signs just started going up. But sometime, I would think sometime in 2021, you'll see, some announcement made and how one would go about being able to purchase their signs. So through an auction, I don't believe we're permitted to just put them up for sale and put a price tag on it. But we've asked our solicitor and Francine, our CFO, and Connie as administrator to weigh in with other communities, check with our auditors, and check with the state finance law, and then we'll make a public announcement on that. Okay.
Mr. Zika has a question.
On the area of the street signs. A long time ago, when you went along the bike path, we had the street names there. And I've frequently been asked when you're on the bike path by, I guess, the tourists, where a particular street is. When you've done a lot of the rework up there, there's now no street signs on the bike path for what cross street you're at. It might be a good idea to add those in at some point in time.
Okay, I believe Mr. Zecker is referring to the access areas to the beach at the street ends. We do have those signs in. They're currently being stored at Public Works. They will be installed prior to the summer of 2021.
Dennis Travascio, 112 East Louisville. What was the cost of the new signs, and why were the old signs, you couldn't see them when you were driving down the street? I mean, what was wrong with them?
One thing is there's no east or west on any of those signs. And a lot of people get confused because there's 100 east and there's 100 west. And Brian happened to be in the office that day when someone said, well, do we need east and west? You need east and west so they know where they're going. And that was the main thing. And they were getting worn out, and Pittsburgh's never been spelled right. So I think everything now is getting together.
Of them.
Pardon me?
The cost.
I couldn't tell you the cost.
Surplus help pay for that? The budget surplus?
Francine, he asked a question.
No, I think it was budgeted as part of the budget.
Thank you.
Also, the DOT changed the size of the signs and what they need to be. So it's a new recommendation by DOT on the size of those signs, make the letters more readable.
Is it mandatory? Is every other borough in the state going to change it?
But it is necessary, similar signs were in bad shape.
So we just needed to spend the money?
No, that the signs were in bad shape is what I said.
Okay.
They were hitting, and it was either continue to buy signs that didn't meet the new code and spend the money and replace them all and make them more easy to read as well as use them less.
Correct.
Okay. Anybody else? Moving on to old business, I don't believe we have any updates. No. Mark, we talked about the bulkheads, old library, referendum, nothing there. Beach bump outs, waiting on the permit. Walkways, looks like it's going to be wood, making those in-house at Public Works. Pump stations, as CFO mentioned, is covered in grant as well as planned in 2023. Beach bike path is on hold. The ordinance prohibiting bamboo is pending the Green Team review, and the Little League field, we're just waiting for the insurance decision, or decision from our insurance company, I should say. Okay. Brings us to our last round of public comments. Let me just check to see if there's anyone on the line. Let the record reflect there is no one on the conference line. This is the last round for public comments.
Jim Zecca, how much have we spent to date or committed to spend to date on New Jersey Avenue project?
I don't know. We can certainly get that information. Do you want to provide, maybe after the meeting, you guys can provide an email exchange or what have you, and you can provide?
I'd ask that you just have it here for the next meeting.
Sure.
Thank you. Other comment would be on the old library building. Reluctantly, I heard Ms. Gould's appeal for financial responsibility at that presentation, and I applaud her for it. I do, however, favor going forward with the building because it is an eyesore right in the heart of our tourist area. That said, I think you need to take a pretty sharp pencil to the project. There's a couple things you could easily eliminate, and yeah, they may only be a few thousand here and a few thousand there, but every thousand matters. Number one, I think the fire pits are a bad idea. I can see a lot of contention with them, of who can use them, when they can be used, how big a fire, who cleans up after them, what time does it stop, groups coming in and using all three for a party time. I just think they're a bad idea and could have a lot of problems. So save a few bucks and get rid of them. I would get rid of the statue. I don't think it's a necessity, and it could always be put in later. A sharp pencil will help offset some of the costs you're going to find when you get into that old building that haven't been accounted for yet. And then lastly, while I am completely with Mr. Thompson on the need for a senior center, you can't pick a worse place to put it. It's right in our highest prime real estate for tourism, and we're putting our seniors into all that traffic and mess. I strongly recommend that you consider the senior center back on New Jersey Avenue as part of that program and get it off of there, off the beachfront. At the same time, as an interim project, I looked at the upstairs room in the library, and you have a lot of square footage up there. Yes, the library is operated by the county, but I believe you should be able to sit down and work out a deal where short-term, the senior center goes there, and long-term, it heads toward New Jersey Avenue. Your parking would be better, and you're gaining distance from the beachfront. In addition, you could reduce the complexity of the inside of the building some, and by doing that, you could again save some bucks on that building. Thank you.
Thank you, duly noted. Anybody else?
Matthew McElroy, 104 East Heather Road, part of my appearance. One easy question. What is a beach bump out?
Okay, that's the slang term we're given to the access points south of Rambler Road. So if you go to Rambler Road and you see the deck, we're referring to that as the bump out. So it's the beach, it's the deck when you access the beach south of Rambler Road. You're welcome. Okay, anybody else? Let the record reflect there's nobody on the call. May I entertain a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Aye. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.